Hi, so I am making this video to kind of document what's been going on in our life, my family's life in the last 2 weeks. I'm gonna start a little bit further back. So in December of 2019, I had made the choice to have vertical sleeve gastrectomy. It's often referred to as VSG, where they remove 75 to 80% of your stomach, and you're left with 25% of your stomach, and you lose weight. And I was 47, and I have spent most of my life battling my weight and was ready for a change. So had the surgery and have been losing weight very steadily, looking good. I've been feeling good. I've been active. Every day I get out, I do stuff. I feel my outside has finally matched my inside. Like I finally feel like I got my crap together. Well, about 5 months post-op, so the beginning of May 2020, I was getting dressed, and I'm less fluffy than I used to be. So I was touching my body, could feel the bones, and continued to touch. I lost a lot of fat in my breast. They kind of look like two deflated balloons, kind of not really perky and wonderful, and as I was touching my left side, I could feel a lump. Now, other times in my life when I've gone in for mammograms, I'd always have to go in for a second mammogram, because usually in the first mammogram, my breasts are so dense that it's hard to make out the imaging. So they'd have me come in and go on a different machine so that they can do a more intensive mammogram. But it always came back and they would explain, well, you just have very dense breasts and you're very cystic there, and that's all it is. So I thought, well, it's probably just a cyst. But about a week later, I let my husband feel it, and he kind of concurred that kind of feels a little weird. And so I contacted our general practitioner, who happens to be a family friend, and got in to see him fairly quickly. And he touched it and said, yeah, he felt it. It seemed a little odd. He said, I can't tell if it's breast tissue or if it's something more. So he sent me to the breast center to have a diagnostic mammogram performed. And after I had the diagnostic mammogram performed, now this was 2 weeks ago yesterday, I had my diagnostic mammogram performed. They had me wait a few minutes, and then they had me go in for an ultrasound. And they did the ultrasound on the lump. They checked a spot behind the nipple of my right breast, and I also held up my arms, and they checked my lymph nodes underneath my arms. And I laid there for a few more minutes, and a doctor came in and looked at the imaging and said, well, we're gonna suggest that you also have a biopsy. Never had a biopsy. I was a little nervous about hearing that, but just kind of sticking with the thought that it's still just dense breast and cysts, and all will be well. So they set me up with an appointment for the biopsy, and I had that on that Thursday. So Tuesday, then to the Thursday, I went in for a biopsy. No, I'm wrong. The next Tuesday I went in for the biopsy, sorry. So it was last Tuesday I went in for a biopsy, and before I went in, I was in the Cape and waiting for a nurse to come to guide me to the room where the biopsy would be performed. And a woman came in who was a nurse, and she introduced herself as my nurse navigator and informed me that the doctor had looked at the scans, and it was his opinion that what we were dealing with was cancer, and that the biopsy was just to get the information to know what kind of cancer we were dealing with. So that was quite a blow. That was last Tuesday, and I went in for the biopsy, and they took 3 samples from the breast and 2 samples from the lymph node. And that was pretty jarring for me. I guess I still kind of had some hope that that biopsy result would come back, and they would come back to me and say, oh, we had it wrong. It's just a cyst, all is well. So I didn't really get too worked up yet. I think I was still kind of holding out hope that it just wouldn't be what I thought it was going to be or what they said it was going to be. And she told me I would get my results on Friday. I got a phone call from her on Thursday, and she said, yes, that confirms you have breast cancer, and you need to come in because I need to teach you Cancer 101. And my husband and I went in on Friday, which was the next day, and met with her. And we held hands as she discussed what a cancer cell looks like, how your breast cells usually look, what happens when they're invaded by cancer, what it looks like when it becomes metastatic. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. She went over grade. Mine's a 2. She said that they didn't know what the receptors were, but that it was being tested, and I would find that out this week. And then she started going over treatment and explained that my treatment would begin with chemotherapy. And that's pretty much where she lost me. I don't think I heard much more of what she said after that, because I really wasn't expecting to hear chemo that soon. I had thought that they might give me surgery, remove the cancers, do radiation, something. I didn't expect to hear chemo from the start. But she explained that my treatment would be the chemo because it had moved out of the breast and moved into my lymph node, and because of that they didn't know where else it was in my body. It could be traveling, but that changes my treatment, and so they needed to do the chemo first, kill everything, and then they would radiate the places that they knew had the cancer, and or do surgery and then radiate. So yeah, so that kind of threw me for a loop. And then this past Tuesday, I went in and met with my surgeon, and that's when I found out what receptors I have. So our best case scenario is that I am estrogen and progesterone positive with HER2 negative, and that is exactly what I am. So all things considered, that was my best case scenario, and that's what I got. Which also means it's not as aggressive, which is definitely a plus. But again, because it's moved out of the breast and it's in my lymph nodes, our worry still is, where else is it in my body? So I'm having a PET scan on Thursday. So tomorrow I have a PET scan, and to see if it's anywhere else. And right now they're staging me at about a 2. But if it is anywhere else in my body, she did say, then I would definitely jump up to stage 4. So today I'm praying all day. My mind, I'm supposed to be working on term papers because I decided to take 3 courses in the summer. And I can't really think about my stuff. I've got this PET scan on my mind. So I'm praying that I don't light up like a Christmas tree tomorrow. And that's as far as we are. I go in on Monday, and I have a port put into my right shoulders where he said he likes to do it. And that will give them access to putting the chemo in for my chemo treatments. And I meet with my oncologist on June the 24th, 2020. And he'll tell me by then they'll know for sure what exactly the chemo treatment will be, because then they'll know where else it is in my body, if it is anywhere, and if not, what they're doing. And like I said, once chemo's done, and my understanding with my nurse navigator last week was that it would be about 4 months of treatment, then 6 weeks of recovery, then surgery, then recovery, then radiation. And if all goes well, I will be cancer-free after that and just be on hormone therapy because my receptors are hormone, estrogen, progesterone. So my therapy post all treatment will be the hormone therapies. So it's definitely scary because I've been overweight most of my life. I really worried about heart disease, diabetes, those kind of things as being a condition that I needed to be worried about. Cancer doesn't necessarily run in my family. My mom's mom, my grandmother, died from lung cancer, about 20 years ago. But she smoked, so it's not even, I wouldn't really even classify it as, it's an environmental thing, not necessarily a genetic thing. I am having genetic testing done. They drew the blood for that yesterday just to see what else I might be prone to at this point, and if somehow I've developed any genetics that would cause this. My girls would have and my son, because breast cancer runs in guys too. Our family would have the opportunity to be tested for those genes if they wanted to, and find out if they were prone so they could know whether they needed to be vigilant, which they should be regardless, getting mammograms, or if they should start earlier because they have the gene, I guess is more what I'm thinking. So I'm having the genetic testing done, and having my PET scan done tomorrow. And that will be the big one. That's kind of the final piece of the puzzle as to what I have and how it's treated. I think maybe, I want to say I'll sleep better, but I'm not sure I will. It's very unsettling receiving the diagnosis of cancer, to say the word cancer and have it associated with yourself. But I will find comfort in knowing we pretty much know what we're dealing with. That will give me comfort, and I'm ready for a little bit more comfort. Yesterday was a little bit of a win, and finding out I was ER and PR positive, HER2 negative. That was definitely a positive, and we celebrated it for the first part of the day, and then the heaviness of the rest of the situation settled into both Steve and I. And I haven't been able to pull myself out of that funk. So hopefully tomorrow that PET scan will happen, we'll get the results back, and it'll show that I'm clean the rest of my body, and this will just be a really crappy year of treatments. So again, I don't know when I'll post this, if I'll post it, if I just want a record for myself. But I wanted to make a record of where I'm at today. Yeah, so today is June 17th, 2020. And hopefully on June 17th, 2021, this will all be over, and I'll be a survivor.